Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. Hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. The Chiefs beat the Eagles in a controversial Super Bowl encounter. Scump believes the NFL is officially rigged. But the big sports news of the day is Dave Paddy released by the Florida Mutineers, can you believe it? But also Huke giving his opinion on why iLLeY has been dropped by OpTic Texas. Very much enjoy your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always, I'd greatly appreciate it. First of all, we're not going to talk about the Super Bowl. We're going to talk about Crimsix, baby. He was, of course, doing his final quarterfinal so far of his sim racing career, where, I mean, as he says, it's only my third day out here. So, I mean, he kind of got bodied in this one, to be fair, even more than he did at Spa. He was driving around Hockenheim. I don't believe it's a track that he'd even really driven before and didn't have much practice because his flight got cancelled, arrived there a bit late, all this type of stuff. I'm sure he now knows, though, number 38 Ian Porter, that there is a lot of work to be done here, right? And I think he had some sort of issues. He misunderstood the rules, spit in the pit lane, got a drive-through penalty, so he lost even more time than he was losing already. He wasn't actually too slow on a lap-by-lap basis when he wasn't spinning out, which he did a couple of times, or getting some sort of penalties. I thought it was almost a bit disrespectful. I know Crim didn't really mind this, but the fact that the guy doing the interviews, who usually goes up to the race winner, came up to Crim before he'd even finished his lap. Like, the race was already over, the guy had won. Crim was still on his final lap here, and the guy comes over to interview him and talk about, he was just trying to throw in some Call of Duty banter, I suppose. Crim didn't take it too bad, and it was pretty funny, but yeah, you're not going to get mid-race interviews particularly often. It's almost like you're getting 100-point clubbed in hardpoint super badly, and then, Blaze comes over with a microphone to ask you why you're getting smoked in this map. But, as Crimsix goes on to say, no words, only suck, 2 drive-throughs, 2 spins, first time on the track, still didn't get lapped. So I was manifesting him not to get lapped, because it was honestly a couple more laps. Crim would probably got lapped in this one, but he didn't just about, and even as Ciano here, like, he's having fun, so it's good. Crim's having fun, and, he well knows that he's got a lot of time to, improve on this, right? The next one that they do an event like this is in a month's time, so he's definitely got, he realizes there's a lot of work to be done, and, obviously, look, the guys he's competing against have been sim racing veterans, some of them for like 10 plus years, so it's the same deal as like a, casual competitive player hopping into the CDL and getting fried. It's how it's going to be, and, Crimsix obviously dedicated his life to Call of Duty. A lot of these guys he's racing against here in the Sims are, dedicated their lives to sim racing, so Crim's got a lot of work to be done, as he says, me realizing how much work I've got to put it over the next few months or so, but hopefully he can close the gap to the top guys when we see him compete next on this one. Let's talk Call of Duty Rostermania then. So, remarkable story, I think, for the Florida Mutineers. Dave Paddy is now gone, released fully from the team, not even kept as a substitute anymore, he's just fully gone. Of course, Major Maniac, we know the same things happened to him, and Vickle is now going to remain their substitute, with Brack coming back into the team. Havoc, we believe, is going to stay, and then, of course, Fellow and Capstol rounding out the roster, so I guess they don't need 2 substitutes. They're going to release Dave Paddy, but, I feel like Dave Paddy has been screwed over here, to be honest, right, because he got brought into the team for Brack, which never made any sense anyway. If there was anyone Dave should have been brought in for, it should have been Major Maniac, right? Also, Dave Paddy's not particularly, he can communicate right as well. He could have potentially stepped into that role. Bringing him and Major in just made absolutely no sense at all. Was never going to work, didn't work. Now, both of them have been dropped, right, and Brack's been brought back in, so I feel like Dave's been harshly dealt with here, or dealt a difficult hand in this situation, because he comes into a team that was never going to work again. Then, obviously he gets a lot of flack for playing too slow and all this, but I feel like this year he did actually speed up his pace. I feel like when he goes to challenges, he always fries, and probably could still improve, maybe in London or something, because their AR combo this season has been pretty lackluster. But, look, at the end of the day, Mutineers are finally actually signing some SMGs, right? They're not going for the Dave Paddy, the Major Maniac route and all this. They might have finally changed their course, Ogre 2 and the general management team over there, maybe it's just Ogre 2, to figure out what they want to do going forward. But, bringing Fellow in, bringing Capstol in, Brack, of course, a faster paced AR than some they've had on their team in recent memory, and maintaining Havoc, their team actually is going to have some pace now, right? So, yeah, I feel like Dave Paddy's been in a difficult spot. Hopefully he can get back into the league at some point or another, but to get brought in by Florida, and then less than a month later to be dropped again and fully released is just, it's pretty tough, to be honest, and just indicative of Mutineers making some questionable changes over the last couple of years. Speaking of questionable changes, though, here we go with the Las Vegas Legion. We saw yesterday that Shotzzy said they're making some moves. He said that they played them in a scrim. They clearly fried Vegas, and they were like, you know what, chalk this up. We're making a roster change. So, according to sources, they're looking to make not just one change for ProLoot, but 2 changes in the SMG department for both ProLoot and TJ, which is quite the big deal if they can get the players that they they maybe want. Now, this is the thing with Vegas. If they'd have made the change right after the major, they might have been able to get Cap still, but as it stands, they can't. He's going to Florida, who was obviously the key target seemingly in the challenger side, and yeah, Prolute seems to be indicating he's probably out of the team now, unfortunately. Now, of course, look, this is one song lyric that I actually do know here from TJ Halley, right? This, of course, from Rihanna's halftime show last night, but and often the pros will tweet out song lyrics, and sometimes I won't even recognize the song lyrics, and I'll be like, is that potentially Rostermania hints? Is that just song lyrics because they like the song? I don't know, but in this case from TJ, it's an interesting lyric to tweet out, let's say, on the day that supposedly he's getting dropped. And if he is getting dropped, is this really the right decision? It's tricky for me to say because, look, they needed to upgrade somewhere in their SMG department, but dropping TJ as well, I don't know, I feel like TJ's actually been alright at this game. The stats might not always reflect that, but certainly in Search and Destroy, I think he's been pretty good, so I don't really know what you guys think about a two-man change, especially if the man they're bringing in is potentially too real. So these are the two players they're targeting. Firstly, Kremp. Now, Kremp, formerly known as Volant or whatever, but he's been on that Boston Academy, been known as a real top player for some time. Beans, we believe, is going straight to the Boston starting team. Kremp getting picked up as well seems inevitable also, and potentially they're targeting him. Now, what's weird to me is they'd probably have to pay Boston some sort of buyout to get Kremp on, because he's on their academy roster. He's signed to them, I think, to a certain extent. So, I think they'd have to potentially pay a buyout for him, which would be, not what Vegas usually do. So that's a good pickup there if they can secure that one. I think that definitely in terms of firepower, that should upgrade their SMG line, where Kremp's been doing great things for Boston for a while. The other candidate, though, Too Real, right? I mean, of course, if he goes around last year, you'll know Too Real and the pillow meme and everything, right? This is the image here of Too Real with said pillow. This guy, among others, is kind of like the Norwich City of the CDL, as in, he's probably not good enough for the league, at least on the evidence we saw last year when he was in Florida, but he's too good for challenges, right? Like, he goes to challenges and fries. Too Real has been frying lately. And also, key to note, that Clayster teamed with him last year, I believe, during Vanguard, when Clay went to challenges. I think he teamed with Too Real briefly. So this might be a Clay-led thing where he thinks, you know what, this Too Real guy is actually better than people giving him credit for. And of course, that team that just won the Boston Challenges, you've got Dan Ghosty, now been picked up by OpTic. You've got Fellow, now been picked up by Florida Mutineers. Then you've got iLLeY, I think, and Too Real were the other two players on the team, I think. Now, iLLeY would be one that I think a lot of people have been looking at as well as a potential candidate here. So to pick up Too Real instead of iLLeY, I know is a bit of a controversial one. Of course, this is not guaranteed yet, and it's difficult to say whether this will go through. But yeah, apparently they're looking for a two-man change. Too Real could probably be signed relatively easily. Whether they can get Kremp easily, I don't know. But yeah, they're definitely looking at changes here, Vegas. Is a two-man change justified in this camp? Definitely enjoy your thoughts in the comment section below, especially given the options available. But yeah, definitely some mixed opinions on whether this change would improve their roster to the extent that they need it to. But dipping into challenges to a certain extent, I think is certainly the way to go. Let's talk then iLLeY and the situation with the OpTic camp. Of course, we saw iLLeY confirm he is certainly not joining Vegas, but is he joining another team? Now, we don't really have any further updates on that. What we do have updates on, though, is from the OpTic side as to why iLLeY was getting dropped, because it's kind of unclear why iLLeY was removed now, because they had a decent performance at the major. It felt like, okay, they can kick on from here. Top 4 was kind of, I think, what they needed to get to go into their home major with some confidence. iLLeY's dropped anyway, despite teams that play significantly worse not making any changes. Now, Huke, of course, hasn't been in the team too long, but he has known iLLeY for a long time, and he says that the reason why they dropped iLLeY has been brewing it for a long time. But basically what he implies here, read between the lines, that behind the scenes his teammates have had problems with iLLeY for some time, whatever those problems are, and they got to a point where the team wasn't going to function, and therefore iLLeY had to go.
I'll speak about this maturely because I know it's never going to be an answer that anyone wants to hear, but it's kind of like what I was saying before. I mean, I just joined the team, and, I'm here to do my best with, what I got here. But regardless of that, I think it's one of those decisions where obviously I think we all love Ender, right? I think everyone does. It just seemed like to me that it was something that wasn't needed, but was on people's mind on the team for a while now. Obviously they've been teaming together for like 2-3 years now. I know Shotzzy and Ender have been teaming with each other forever, and then obviously last year they were all together, them three. So they obviously have like they know a lot about how they work and how if things can work and if they can't and yada yada. People try to make things work, and sometimes they don't, even if it's, like I said, out of our control, or out of a person's control, whatever it is. I think it was just one of those needed moves for everyone to move on, in my point of view. Just from being here for the past 3 weeks, I think it was needed for them, and I'm not going to speak too much on it, but you guys know what I'm saying. You know what I mean? Like, it's just how it works sometimes and how it goes. It's unfortunate, but I think moving forward with Ghosty, he's someone that is highly looked at right now. I'm excited to have him here. I'm excited for him to come on board and, you know, showcase what he's got. You know what I'm saying? I think he's got it. So we'll see what happens.
So what do you guys think Huke might potentially be talking about here, right? I think what he's kind of implying as well is that, and we even heard rumors about this, that when they were going to try and bring in Pred during that period where they dropped Dashy, I think they also were going to get rid of iLLeY as well. There was the rumors that they were going to make a two-man change. They were going to try and get someone else in as well in their AR line, and then, you know, I guess Scump would stay for now, and then Scump decided to call it a day, and then they realized, you know, we don't actually have too many options. We better bring Dashy back and keep iLLeY and do what we can, get Huke and all this. But I think it was quite clear they wanted to drop iLLeY for a while. Even in the off-season, they did drop iLLeY, and, you know, the reasons at the time were kind of unclear. They decided to run it back, but I believe Dashy was kind of the first to be invited back, and then it was, I'm pretty sure what they did during the off-season when they dropped Dashy and iLLeY was they said, or Scump said Dashy, like, hey, look, this is probably a mistake. We want to bring you back. What do you think about Inda? And then Dashy was like, yeah, I think we should get iLLeY back as well. So that was not a guarantee that I think iLLeY was coming back when they decided to run it back in the off-season. Eventually they did, but I think that's the one, to me, where there's always been the most likelihood of the kind of chemistry going away. Now, we don't know what these reasons are that Huke implies. There's been some rumors about this and some speculation what it might be, but it's difficult to say, and I don't imagine they want to go into detail on this, because if they, you know, if they talk too much about iLLeY being dropped, they could potentially affect his stock going onto another team. We saw that they probably don't want to do that again after the events that happened with Dashy, where they do an entire podcast talking about why Dashy got dropped, about, you know, potential attitude and all this type of stuff, and Dashy's like, I'm not accepting that, you're hurting my stock, I'm going to go completely rogue on Twitch to set the record straight, which of course resulted in all the drama of the coming weeks. So I'm sure OpTic, Camp, and Huke, of course especially, doesn't want to say anything. The actual reason behind this, the team was obviously brewing for some time, that it kind of reached a breaking point and he had to go. Like, they don't want to reveal that to the public yet, because I guess they want to ensure he can get onto a new team and don't affect his passage elsewhere, and then maybe in more detail we'll get what these reasons might be. So definitely tweet your thoughts on that in the comment section below. But Huke's not been in the team that long, but obviously he knows from talking to Shotzzy and talking to Dashy that there was some reason with iLLeY why they were getting frustrated for various reasons, potentially over the last year or so, and it's reached a point where it's untenable and they need to make a change, even to the extent of they're bringing an amateur player in, there's no clear leader now, you lose some of your in-game leadership stuff, maybe from a search and destroy perspective as well. There's a lot of risk with this move, but I guess they thought it was necessary given whatever issues they were having with iLLeY. So very much intrigued to your thoughts on that in the comments below. Now, just to mention on Boston, because there were still some questions, could iLLeY potentially be going to Boston? Is that a possibility? Now, Havoc actually said on stream last night, this of course the new Florida Mutineers team, they played at Boston in a scrim and apparently made a 104 to 247 comeback, which sounds basically impossible for a pro team to choke a lead like that. So, you know, is this classic Boston failing to ice up when it comes to an important part of the series? Now, Beans replies and says actually it wasn't 104 to 247, it was 144 to 246, which, okay, it's not much better, let's be honest here, but it is at least, this is a comeback that can happen. You chain a couple of hills together. 104 to 247 is like, okay, it's only 40 points more, but that's just straight up embarrassing. This can happen if, you know, a couple of hills chain. Not out of the realms of possibility, but of course what this does confirm from Beans is that Beans was in said scrim, and this is the key point here that was revealed by, you know, and of course Beans I thought was pretty funny here, like he holds this up as in the fake trophy, right? So, you know, congratulations Havoc, you managed to win this non-existent trophy of making a comeback on us in a scrim, and as Havoc says, yeah, I did say you'll slam us the next map, why is this even on Twitter? But what it does confirm is that Beans is on the Boston breach, which is important information, because there were some rumours here that maybe Beans wouldn't be the one replacing Methods, maybe they get iLLeY instead. That seemingly is not the case. So very much intrigued to your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.